Emilia's train screeched to a halt at Gare du Nord, and she practically leapt off, her suitcase bouncing behind her like a loyal but slightly rebellious sidekick. Her heart raced with a mix of exhilaration and terror, the kind of heartbeat that makes your stomach flip and your palms tingle. Paris. She had dreamed of this city in her mind for years. Streets lined with cafes, the Seine glinting under golden light, art and fashion pulsing through every corner. Now she was finally here. The air was crisp, carrying the faint scent of fresh croissant, roasted coffee, and something indefinably Parisian, a combination of history, creativity, and the subtle charm that made this city famous. Emilia tugged at her bright yellow trench coat, feeling slightly ridiculous but also thrillingly cinematic. Her red scarf, dotted with tiny golden fleurs-de-lis, fluttered around her neck like a banner announcing her arrival. She took a deep breath, adjusted the strap of her satchel, and stepped confidently, or at least attempted to, onto the cobblestone streets. A cyclist swerved dangerously close, almost clipping her ankle. Emilia let out a small squeak, stumbled, and grabbed onto the nearest lamppost. A street artist painting a miniature Eiffel Tower in watercolor on the sidewalk gave her a sympathetic smile. "Bienvenue à Paris," he said, nodding as if this minor near catastrophe were a rite of passage. Emilia laughed, brushing off her nerves. Yes, this is it. This is the beginning. Her phone buzzed insistently. She pulled it out and snapped a selfie with the Seine in the background, adjusting her scarf like a model trying to look effortlessly casual. Perfect lighting, golden hour, Instagram-worthy, but not too cheesy. She smiled at her own reflection in the screen, feeling the familiar thrill of self-doubt mixed with excitement. As she navigated the crowded streets, Paris seemed alive in a way no film, no photo, no Instagram post could capture. Cafes spilled onto the sidewalks, their tiny tables crowded with patrons sipping espresso and nibbling on buttery pastries. The chatter of French filled the air, punctuated by occasional laughter and the faint strains of accordion music drifting from a corner musician. Vendors called out, offering everything from macarons to miniature Eiffel Towers. Each scent, sound, and sight hit Emilia with sensory overload. Part romance, part chaos, all magic. Her destination was Lumière Agency, a high-profile marketing firm known for daring campaigns and audacious creativity. Emilia had never worked anywhere like this. The building itself looked like a photograph in a fashion magazine. Sleek glass walls, marble floors, minimalist desks that whispered refinement. She paused at the revolving door, took a deep breath, and reminded herself of her mantra. Be fearless. Be brilliant. Don't trip on the first step. Inside, Emilia's eyes widened. Her colleagues moved with the kind of effortless grace that seemed impossible. Blazers perfectly fitted, scarves tied at exactly the right angle, espresso cups in hand, every gesture precise. Her own bright outfit, yellow trench, red scarf, ankle boots, seemed almost neon against their monochrome elegance. Her heels clicked loudly on the polished floor, announcing her presence like a tiny trumpet of chaos. And then she saw him, Gabriel. He leaned against a desk, dark hair slightly tousled, a navy blazer tailored to perfection. His posture exuded casual confidence, yet his eyes sparkled with curiosity. He was the kind of man who could make an entire office feel warmer without saying a word. "Ah, you must be Emilia," he said smoothly, his French accent lacing each word with charm. "Bienvenue à Paris." Emilia's heart skipped. Thank you. I'm really excited to be here," she stammered, attempting poise but mostly failing. Her cheeks flushed. Classic Emilia, first impression disaster. Check. Gabriel chuckled, a soft, knowing laugh that made her stomach flip again. Paris can be overwhelming at first, but you'll find your rhythm, eventually. She nodded, pretending she wasn't hyperventilating. Eventually? Sure, hopefully before I embarrass myself too badly. The morning passed in a blur of introductions, new email accounts, and navigating labyrinthine hallways. Emilia managed to get lost 3 times, accidentally pressed the intercom to announce her presence to the entire office, and spilled her coffee on a corner of the lobby floor. Each mishap was met with polite smiles, barely suppressed giggles, or curious glances. Oui, it's fine. Just blend in, blend in. Lunch offered a small reprieve. Emilia wandered into a tiny pâtisserie across the street, ordering a pain au chocolat and espresso. The baker, a man with a twinkle in his eye, asked, "First day?" Emilia nodded eagerly. "Oui, first day. Merci." She bit into the flaky pastry, savoring the chocolate and butter, and felt, for the first time that day, like she might actually survive Paris. Back at the office, her first real assignment was to prepare a social media post for a luxury fashion client. Naturally, Emilia misread the brief, attached the wrong files, and panicked. Camille, sleek and poised as always, passed by with a faint smile that was all steel under silk. Emilia felt her face burn, but Gabriel leaned over her shoulder, whispering, "Everyone has a first-day disaster. You'll survive, and you'll shine." It was a small reassurance, but enough. Enough to remind Emilia that she didn't need to be perfect, just bold, bright, and a little bit naive. By the time the sun dipped low over Paris, painting the Seine in shimmering gold, Emilia stepped outside, letting the wind tease her scarf. She whispered softly to herself, "Je suis prête. I am ready." The city seemed to answer back with a promise. "Bienvenue, Emilia. Let the adventure begin." The morning light spilled through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Lumiere Agency, casting a warm glow over the minimalist office. Emilia arrived early, trying to look confident and professional, even though her stomach was twisting in nervous knots. She had spent the previous evening meticulously planning her outfit, a pastel pink blazer, white silk blouse, and tailored navy trousers, and was determined to make a strong impression. Her scarf, delicately patterned in cerulean blue and gold, was tucked just right, and her hair had been brushed into what she hoped resembled chic Parisian effortless waves. As soon as she stepped inside, she felt it. The subtle rhythm of Parisian office life, a silent ballet of precision and elegance. Colleagues moved with an almost imperceptible grace, sipping espresso, scrolling through phones, exchanging soft French phrases laced with wit and nuance. Her own exuberance, however, refused to be subtle. Emilia practically skipped toward her desk, greeting everyone with a loud, "Bonjour! Hello! It's such a beautiful day, isn't it?" Her voice, full of enthusiasm, carried across the room. Some smiled politely, some barely concealed raised eyebrows, and a few whispered among themselves, "Oui, just breathe. Blend in, Emilia. It was during the morning brainstorming session for a luxury fashion client that the first real culture clash hit. Emilia had prepared an idea she was convinced would wow everyone. An interactive Instagram campaign featuring street-style videos in various Paris neighborhoods, combined with an AR filter that let users try on the client's seasonal pieces virtually. Picture it, Emilia began, her hands animatedly painting images in the air. We film in Le Marais, Montmartre, and even around the Seine. People could use the filter, post their looks, and tag the brand. It's viral. It's immersive. It's Paris. The room went quiet. Camille, seated elegantly at the far end of the table, sipped her espresso slowly, eyes narrowing slightly. She was the epitome of Parisian sophistication. Sleek bob, silk scarf tied perfectly, heels that clicked like metronomes on polished floors. Interesting, Camille said softly, her voice smooth as velvet. But perhaps we need something more refined, more élégant, you understand? Emilia blinked. Refined? Elegant? She internally translated that as boring, uncreative, and possibly doomed to fail. She swallowed, forcing a polite smile. Of course, I'll consider it. Inside, her mind raced. Why is she so calm? Does she know something I don't? Gabriel, who had been quietly observing, leaned slightly toward her. Your ideas are refreshing, he murmured, a playful twinkle in his eyes. Perhaps a little bold for Paris, but sometimes bold is exactly what this city needs. Emilia felt a surge of relief. Yes, someone sees me. But just as she started to feel confident, disaster struck. She had misunderstood a client's request for a post to highlight subtle elegance and had created a flashy, over-the-top mock-up instead. Camille noticed immediately, her eyes sharpening slightly, lips curling into a polite, almost imperceptible smirk. Ah, perhaps a different approach would be better, Camille said, gently, almost too softly. Emilia's face flushed. Did she just subtly humiliate me? The day continued in a blur of small disasters and tiny triumphs. Emilia spilled coffee on her neatly organized desk, twice, and tripped over the corner of a chair while trying to greet a client on a video call. Yet each time, Gabriel was there with a supportive word or reassuring smile. You're doing fine. Just pace yourself. Paris doesn't rush, but it notices everything. Emilia tried to navigate the unspoken rules of Parisian etiquette at the office. When to sip, how to gesture, how loudly to laugh, all while maintaining her personality, charm, and ideas. She realized quickly that her natural exuberance, so celebrated back home, could be misinterpreted here as too loud, too eager, too naive. During lunch, she joined Mia, her roommate and confidant, who had suggested they explore a cafe near Place des Vosges. Over tiny espressos and a shared tarte aux framboises, Mia reminded her. Amy, Paris, ce n'est pas pour avoir des idées. C'est pour subtilité, simplicité et voir Camille. Elle n'est pas impie, mais bien parisienne. Emilia notait, souillant tendre son bijou. Subtilité, timing, j'ai gâté. Plus tard, cet après-midi, la commission a tenu une rencontre précise. Camille présentait son projet poli, parfaitement restreint, que le client a vu de quoi en déprécier. Puis c'était Emilia. Her heart thudded as she stepped forward, attempting to present her bold, innovative ideas without overshadowing the client's eyebrows rose, not in disapproval, but curiosity. Something about her audacity caught their attention. By the end of the meeting, they were intrigued enough to request a more detailed proposal. A small victory, yes, but a victory nonetheless. As Emilia returned to her desk, she felt both drained and elated. She had survived her first real cultural clash, navigated subtle rivalries, made a minor professional faux pas, and even earned a spark of interest from Gabriel. Camille, meanwhile, watched from across the office, her expression unreadable, yet Emilia could almost feel the silent challenge in her gaze. Paris is tougher than I thought, but I think I can do this. I will do this. By evening, Emilia wandered along the Seine, letting the fading sunlight catch the glint of the water. Street musicians played soft, melancholic tunes, and cafes spilled warm light onto the cobblestones. Her phone buzzed. A message from Gabriel. "Loved your energy today. Coffee tomorrow?" Her heart soared. She had navigated Parisian office politics, survived subtle ridicule, and made a connection. It was only the first day, but already she felt the pulse of the city. Chaotic, intoxicating, full of opportunity. Emilia paused on a small bridge overlooking the river, scarf fluttering in the evening breeze, and whispered to herself, "Je suis prête. I am ready." The city seemed to whisper back, "Bienvenue, Emilia. Let the adventure begin." The next morning, Emilia arrived at Lumière Agency, determined to redeem herself. She had spent the night sketching ideas in her notebook, scribbling down every possible concept for the client campaign that had caused such a stir yesterday. Her trench coat was a soft lavender today, paired with a cream blouse and a patterned scarf that swirled shades of sky blue and gold. She felt ready, prepared, bright, and just bold enough to survive Parisian subtlety. Inside, the office hummed with quiet efficiency. Camille was already at her desk, sipping espresso and reviewing documents with that calm, polished precision that made Emilia's knees wobble slightly. Gabriel appeared a moment later, holding 2 steaming cups of café au lait. He handed one to Emilia with a playful smile. "For you," he said, "to fuel brilliance." Emilia felt a small spark of warmth. This is Paris, and he's noticing me. The morning briefing with the client loomed, and Emilia felt a familiar twinge of anxiety. But this time, she was determined to approach it differently. She didn't want to dazzle with flashy visuals or gimmicks. She wanted to blend creativity with subtle elegance. A hybrid approach that respected Parisian refinement while showcasing her own vibrant style. She stepped into the meeting room, carrying her neatly organized portfolio. Camille offered her a polite nod, eyes calculating. Emilia took a deep breath and smiled, letting her confidence shine through her nerves. "Bonjour, everyone," she began. "I've reworked the concept for your seasonal campaign. I wanted to combine the elegance you prefer with a touch of interactive engagement, something subtle yet unforgettable." She flicked through the slides. Photos of chic Parisian streets, local influencers in casual, stylish poses, and short AR video mock-ups showing how users could experience the brand through augmented reality. It was playful, elegant, and, she hoped, not over the top. The room went silent. Emilia's pulse quickened. Camille raised an eyebrow, as if waiting for a misstep. Gabriel leaned slightly forward, watching her intently. A client finally spoke. leaning back in his chair. Interesting. Very raffiné, but also fresh. I like it. Let's explore this further. Emilia's chest swelled. She had managed to turn a potential disaster into a small triumph. Camille's lips pressed into a thin line. Not a smile, not disapproval, just observation. Emilia sensed subtle respect there, even if it was buried under layers of professionalism. After the meeting, Gabriel lingered. "You handled that well," he said quietly as the room cleared. "It wasn't just your ideas, it was how you presented them. There's charm in authenticity." Emilia felt her cheeks flush. "Thank you. I wanted to show that I can adapt, but still be myself." He smiled. "That's rare. Many people either conform completely or clash entirely. You found the balance." The rest of the afternoon flew by in a haze of minor tasks, email exchanges, and the occasional glance from Gabriel that made her stomach flutter. Even Camille, who had silently observed most of Emilia's progress, seemed less rigid, as if silently acknowledging her small victory. By late afternoon, Emilia decided to reward herself with a walk through Le Marais, a favorite neighborhood of hers. Narrow streets lined with cafes, art galleries, and boutiques created a maze of discovery. She ducked into a small shop and admired a silk scarf in shades of burgundy and gold, running her fingers over the luxurious fabric. The shop owner smiled, greeting her with a friendly "Bonjour, mademoiselle." Emilia bought it impulsively, a reward, a keepsake. A small triumph for surviving her first real challenge. As she exited onto the street, she felt her phone vibrate. A message from Gabriel. "Coffee tomorrow? There's a place I think you'll love. It's hidden, charming, very Parisian." Her heart leapt. She had survived the cultural clash, impressed the client, and now Gabriel was inviting her out. Paris really does reward boldness and authenticity, she thought, scarf fluttering in the evening breeze. She paused on a bridge overlooking the Seine, the water catching the final rays of sunlight, sparkling like a trail of diamonds. Street musicians played soft melodies, and the chatter of cafes spilled across the cobblestones. For a moment, everything seemed perfectly aligned. Her small victory at work, her blossoming connection with Gabriel, and the city itself, chaotic, beautiful, intoxicating, embracing her. Emilia whispered to herself, a mix of triumph and hope. "I can do this. I will do this. And maybe this city has something more in store for me." As she walked home, her mind replayed the day. She imagined tomorrow's coffee, the subtle tension with Camille, and the possibilities that awaited in Paris. "This is only the beginning," she thought, "and I am ready." The following week at Lumière et Gency was a whirlwind. Emilia, still brimming with excitement from her first small victory, felt confident, maybe too confident. Her enthusiasm, once charming, now sometimes bordered on reckless. Today, she was tasked with leading a small digital campaign for a high-profile fashion client. It was her first real solo responsibility. Her plan was daring. She wanted to feature local Parisian street artists and influencers in a citywide scavenger hunt that combined Instagram challenges with live pop-up installations. The concept was playful, interactive, and inherently viral. Everything she loved about marketing. However, Parisian Satellite was not entirely on her side. Camille, who had been assigned to oversee the project, suggested a more restrained approach. "Emilia, perhaps we should focus on elegance rather than spectacle. Less is more, n'est-ce pas?" Emilia nodded, attempting to temper her excitement. But inside, her mind was buzzing. More? What's boring? Boring doesn't go viral. She couldn't resist adding a bold twist. A live event in front of the Louvre. With street performers and live feeds, without fully checking the logistics, by mid-afternoon, the first cracks appeared. Vendor approvals were delayed. Permissions for public spaces hadn't been confirmed. Influencers began to cancel. A client email arrived, questioning the entire concept, their tone polite but edged with doubt. Emilia felt her stomach knot. Oh no, this is spiraling faster than I anticipated. Gabriel appeared at her desk. Emilia, I know you want this to be amazing, but perhaps we need to consider the Parisien rhythm. Subtlety, patience, timing. She gave him a wobbly smile. I know, but I thought a big splash would show them I can really do this. Later, during a quiet call, Camille interjected smoothly, présenté à mon conservatif plan. The client nodded approvingly, praising her composure and respect for the brand's elegance. Emilia felt a sharp sting. Her audacious idée had been overshadowed, dismissed avec malaise, but clearly regardée as too reckless. As she left the office that evening, she ran into Gabriel in the elevator. The tension between professional misstep and personal feelings was palpable. Emilia, don't let this discourage you, he said softly. Your creativity is rare, but Paris has its own tempo. You'll learn it. Emilia nodded, feeling a mix of pride, embarrassment, and an undeniable attraction. The romantic tension was becoming harder to ignore. That night, Emilia sat alone in her small Parisian appartement, gazing out over the rooftops. The city shimmered under streetlights, the Eiffel Tower sparkling in the distance. She felt the weight of her mistakes, missed deadlines, cancelled vendors, and the subtle humiliation of being overruled by Camille in front of the client. She opened her notebook, reviewing her plans. Each idea seemed bold and brilliant in her mind, yet in reality they clashed with the Parisian sense of elegance. Emilia felt the familiar pang of self-doubt creeping in. Maybe I'm too loud, too brash, too me. Mia, ever her sounding board, noticed her gloom over dinner. Emmy, Paris isn't a straight line, she said gently. You're trying to fit into a world that's not used to your style. That doesn't mean you're wrong. It means you need to adapt without losing yourself. Emilia stared at her reflection in the window. The city lights made her eyes sparkle. Adapt without losing myself. It sounded simple, but she felt like she was standing at the edge of a cliff, unsure whether to leap or retreat. The romantic tension with Gabriel only added to her inner turmoil. He had been supportive, charming, attentive. Yet the proximity of Camille, the subtle rival who seemed to anticipate every move Emilia made, complicated her feelings. Emilia felt caught between desire and insecurity, creativity and caution. Over the next few days, Emilia took a step back. She observed Camille carefully, noting her approach to strategy, her attention to detail, and the graceful way she navigated office politics. Emilia realized that to succeed, she didn't need to abandon her creativity. She needed to blend it with subtlety and patience. She revised the campaign, incorporating the interactive elements she loved, but toning down the spectacle. Street artists were included. But in carefully curated spaces, influencers participated in smaller, intimate moments rather than a citywide frenzy. The AR features were refined to be elegant yet playful. When she presented the updated concept to the client, they were delighted. "This is exactly what we wanted. Innovative, but tasteful," they said. Camille, observing silently, nodded with a hint of approval. Gabriel smiled at her from across the room, a subtle spark of admiration in his eyes. The professional victory was accompanied by a personal triumph. Gabriel invited her for a late-night walk along the Seine, under a sky glittering with stars and city lights. As they strolled past cafes, bookshops, and bridges, the conversation flowed effortlessly about Paris, work, art, and life. Emilia felt a warmth spreading through her chest, a connection deeper than fleeting attraction. At one point, Gabriel stopped, turning to her with a serious yet tender expression. "Emilia, I admire how you've grown this week. You found a way to stay true to yourself while respecting the city's rhythm. That's rare." Emilia felt her pulse quicken. She reached for his hand, a small tentative gesture. "Merci. I couldn't have done it without your guidance," she admitted. In the office, Camille approached Emilia privately. "I wanted to say, your adjustments were impressive. You have heart, and that counts for a lot. Don't lose it." Emilia felt the tension ease. Camille was not an enemy, just a mirror showing her the way to navigate Parisian nuance. By the end of the week, Emilia had not only salvaged the campaign, but earned respect, strengthened her connection with Gabriel, and learned a critical lesson about balancing creativity with subtlety. The climax of her first real professional and emotional challenge had arrived, and she emerged victorious, yet humbled, wiser, and more connected to the city and its people. The first golden rays of morning filtered through Emilia's apartment, painting her walls in soft amber light. She sipped her espresso by the window, watching Paris wake up. The rooftops glinting, bicycles weaving through narrow streets, cafes bustling with the aroma of fresh pastries. The city felt alive, intimate, and strangely comforting. Emilia felt changed. The campaign she had painstakingly refined was now live. Social media buzzed with positive reactions. Local influencers tagged posts, Parisian artists shared their videos, and the client had already sent glowing emails praising her ingenuity. Emilia allowed herself a quiet smile. She had navigated the city's subtle nuances, adapted without losing herself, and earned professional credibility, all in a matter of weeks. Yet the real test was not in the office, but in her heart. Gabriel had invited her for dinner that evening, a casual rendezvous at a small bistrot tucked along the Seine, far from tourist chaos. The place was dimly lit, with flickering candles on each table, delicate music floating through the air. Emilia chose a flowing dress in soft blush, paired with a scarf that echoed Parisian elegance, while still allowing her vibrant personality to shine. Gabriel arrived just as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the city in a warm, golden glow. He smiled, the kind of smile that made the world seem still, and for a moment all the anxieties of the past weeks vanished. "Bonsoir, Emilia," he greeted, offering his hand. The simple gesture made her pulse quicken. "Bonsoir," she replied, trying to sound calm, though her heart betrayed her nerves. Over dinner, they talked about everything: the campaign, the city, their dreams. Gabriel revealed a little about his past, his love for Parisian art, and his own struggles balancing passion with professional expectation. Emilia shared her experiences, the mistakes, the victories, and the lessons learned. There was laughter, gentle teasing, and moments of silence that felt charged with unspoken emotions. At one point, Emilia looked into Gabriel's eyes and realized how much she had grown. She had arrived in Paris brimming with enthusiasm, naive and slightly clumsy, yet full of dreams. Now, she was more aware, more confident, and more attuned to the rhythm of the city and of her own heart. After dessert, they stepped out onto a quiet street by the Seine. The water reflected the lights of the city like scattered jewels. Gabriel paused, turning toward her. Emilia, I admire how you've embraced this city, its people, and yourself. You found balance, and that's rare. Emilia felt her chest tighten. Merci, Gabriel. I couldn't have done it without you. He reached for her hand, entwining fingers. The connection was electric, a silent acknowledgement of shared understanding, attraction, and mutual respect. The city seemed to hum around them, intimate and alive, as though Paris itself was celebrating this moment. Meanwhile, Camille had sent a brief note to Emilia earlier in the day. You've done well. Keep your heart and your brilliance intact. Emilia smiled softly, realizing that not all rivalries needed to be antagonistic. Sometimes they guided growth, offered perspective, and even respect. As the evening drew to a close, Gabriel and Emilia walked along the Pont Neuf, the oldest standing bridge in Paris. Lights reflected off the water in golden ribbons, and street musicians played a soft tune nearby. Emilia leaned slightly against him, feeling a sense of belonging, warmth, and quiet joy. I never imagined Paris could feel like home, she admitted. Gabriel squeezed her hand. Maybe home isn't a place, but a feeling, and I think you found it. They paused, looking out over the Seine, hands entwined, hearts aligned. Emilia felt the sweet ache of triumph. Professionally, she had proven herself. Emotionally, she had embraced love and trust. Personally, she had adapted, learned, and grown. Yet, as all Parisian stories tend to do, there was a gentle, bittersweet note. The city was ever-changing, unpredictable, and full of possibilities. Emilia knew that challenges would come again, that adventures awaited, that life and love would continue to test her. But for now, she allowed herself the quiet luxury of the moment, laughter, love, and the sparkling embrace of Paris at night. As they walked back toward her apartment, Emilia glanced at Gabriel, a soft smile tugging at her lips. This is only the beginning, she thought, but I am ready for whatever comes next. The camera pans out as Paris glows under the starlit sky. Streetlights, cafes, bridges, and the Seine create a magical tapestry, mirroring the journey Emilia has taken. Bold yet tempered, vibrant yet elegant, naive yet wise. And somewhere in the distance, the twinkling Eiffel Tower stands as a silent witness to a story just beginning, full of promise, heart, and the intoxicating rhythm of Paris.